There's a cold war brewing between guitar manufacturers and guitar shops. We're going to discuss the ins and outs of it, if it's going to light into a hot war, or if it's just hocus pocus. You ready? Hey, it's me, Baxter.
And me, Jonathan.
Now buckle up, this is going to be a longer one, but a fun one. And I want to see what you guys think about it. We've been sort of analyzing this whole guitar game. The guitar selling game, the buying game, everything. And we're sort of in it's a strange, and like Derek sort of came up with this earlier. He's like, you know, we've almost entered in this strange Cold War.
Yeah.
With manufacturers and a lot of dealers, and it's a two-party system, and we're sort of struggling around and trying to figure out the complexities.
Yeah.
How we're going to fix this. What's the moves forward in the future, and it's pretty fascinating when you look at it from both sides. You've been noticing this too, haven't you?
Well, I mean, it's just when you look at it, especially the way Derek sort of mapped it out, there's some pretty clear cause and effects. It's easy just to be mad. Why did this party do this? And then you start looking at actual causes, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I kind of get it a little bit more now.
And before we get into the map, I think we need to take a little hop, skip, run down memory lane to sort of see where like sort of all this, because I like to analyze like where does this beginning of this happen? Where does the change start? Like it sort of goes back to 2014, 2015 with, you know, Fender was the first of the major manufacturers to do the DTC, direct to consumer, direct to customers, they call it in the biz. And that sort of shifted the paradigm.
Right.
A bit. Like I missed that meeting when all the dealers like lost their shirts. Apparently, they were just like furious. I don't know if that means you lose your money. If they lose your shirts, they lost their temper, and they're really furious. And I get it. It's angry. It's a changing market sway, but it's hard. I also go back to the time. I was like, it does change everything when that paradigm shifted. That's the first.
Well, I mean, if you're in a business and you're selling a product and you're sort of the way to get that product, and then suddenly the people supplying you with that product say, "Hey, we're gonna actually sell this too. We're gonna compete with you." It's easy to gloss over that, especially if you're not thinking about the business part of it at all. If you just enjoy guitars, but if you're in the business of it, that's pretty huge.
Because this is a new paradigm of what's happened. But let's get on to the next part. Let's fast forward a bit to 2020.
Yep. The
year of the Great Plague, and everything changed.
Right.
Everything went wild. The guitar sales went through the roof.
Oddly enough. Who saw that, right? Guitars and bicycles.
Guitars, guns, and bicycles.
Yeah, well.
And bullets, they say too.
Yeah.
No, but it was insane. Like, you know, all of our business grew outrageously.
Yeah.
The manufacturers they couldn't keep guitars in their warehouses.
Right.
We couldn't keep guitars in the hooks. We couldn't keep, we were new customers every day. It was the golden era of your shop if you had it set up to handle online sales.
Yes.
Because no one was going to your store. Everybody was trying to do curbside stuff. That was the thing for the beginning, but that slowly pivoted into, online is a monster part of the sales.
Well, there's some added stress there too because things weren't being built at a normal speed because things were shut down. So
yeah, so the supply chain was all messed up. We'll get into that later.
Everything was crazy.
We're just giving a little backstory to where we're going to go with this whole thing. But then what happened during this time too is it was going great. Then all of a sudden, the shop started to really see the tea leaf writings on the wall and everything, and tea leaf writings on the wall. That I combine two things.
We always throw our tea on the wall. It's weird.
They saw it, so the big resellers just hit the brakes immediately.
Yep.
From Sweetwater, Guitar Center, Thomann, Musician's Friend, and even old Sam Ash. Like everyone just like, hey, cancel our orders. We have thousands of orders with you, millions and millions of dollars with orders. We don't want anymore. And the manufacturer's like, okay, cool. And
no problem, guys.
Don't get me wrong. I can't just call them, like the independent channel, us included, canceled some of our orders as well. Obviously, it's not the scale of that, but we're about 40% of the manufacturer's market base.
All of the
independent channels together. Some of us are more than others. Some of us are way less than others. And so our cancellations don't matter as much, but it still matters. And so I think we're at fault for that some as well.
Sure.
And so that left the manufacturers, all of them, holding the bag.
Yeah.
And they got to figure out what are we going to do to get rid of this stuff.
Right.
We have so much inventory. They have warehouses filled, freighters filled, and they got to get rid of it. So that's when the beginning of the online dumping of pieces started. Like, and you saw stuff at Sam's Club. You saw stuff like going for like crazy prices,
right?
And then so ever since then there hasn't been a recovery,
right,
of the sort of intrinsic relationship between the two. It's. And that's the thing, like when we were talking about this as we started it, we've been working on this for a while. It's when we think of, some people think of like, let's say you're talking about Fender or Gibson or Paul Reed Smith. You think of these monolithic, Taylor guitars, Martin guitars, D'Angelico, Yamaha. It's not, it's people.
Sure.
There's people that make these decisions, and and these people are friends too. I'm friends with most of the cats that, work at these places, and we get on around. They make decisions. They have to make decisions for their bottom line. They have to make decisions that are the best for their business, for their employees, for their teams. They have to do layoffs. I get it. Sometimes they make really bad decisions.
Yeah, because like you said, they are people. They're human. It's easy to be mad at the big bad corporation. It's different when you start getting into realizing that it's individuals who maybe panicked, or maybe just had different information, or whatever. It just puts everything in perspective. So
we're going to start breaking this down. We've got about 10 categories here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little fun here and sort of go through it. And we're going to talk about it from manufacturer's perspective, dealer's perspective, and at the end of the day, how this affects you, the end player and buyer of this guitar, amp, pedal, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Because that's who's it going to be better for at the end. And that's the most important thing. Is it better for the end user, as they call it again in the business? Then that's the most important goal. And whatever that may lie, wherever we end up at the end of this conversation, we never know. That's what we hope is the best, the best outcome. So here we go. Number 1. We're going to start with control over pricing and sales. So I'm going to sort of read some of this off as we go through it. The manufacturer's perspective. So the guitar manufacturers aim to control the pricing of their products and maintain brand value and profitability. They may establish minimum advertised price, MAP, policies to ensure dealers do not undercut prices, which could devalue the brand.
Yeah.
That all makes sense, right?
Totally makes sense.
I think it sort of makes that now don't get me wrong, in Europe there is no MAP.
Right.
So the way it works is a guitar manufacturer has always had a traditional relationship with dealers, and they sell the guitar for X, the dealer marks it up Y. That is the profit spread. It's not very wide. This isn't clothing.
Right.
It's unfortunately small. But that's just the way it is. It's cool. So they have that set here in the USA. We have a MAP. It's like that's what you're set at.
Yeah.
And everybody sort of knows that. Some people will still be like, "What's the MSRP?"
That's not a thing anymore.
That's been gone for decades.
But we still have to explain that pretty regularly, right? That's not a thing. That it's not retail and then like street price anymore. It's MAP. And it does make sense when you think about the value of a brand, right? Like if you see something being dumped over and over and over again, you just start, whether it's true or not, you start to think, oh, maybe it's not good stuff. Maybe it's not great value.
Well,
Something's wrong.
And there will be things like MAP holidays is what
Sure.
they're called sometimes, where they're going to do like a sale across the board. And that's usually done when it's a piece that is not selling well, or they're seeing that sales overall have slowed up dramatically, or they have tons in the warehouse, they got to move them. So you'll sort of see that happen. Now let's talk about the dealer's perspective on the same idea of control over pricing and sales. Now, dealers often want more flexibility in pricing to offer discounts or promotions to attract customers. Also, some feel constrained by the MAP policies. I don't really have a problem with MAP. I think it's okay.
I sort of think it keeps it from being the Wild West, because what you used to see, right, is people come in, especially bigger box stores, cut prices like crazy, drive smaller stores out of business, and then they put the price.
And then what happened back in the days of MSRP,
right.
there was no set price that, let's say the guitar was sold for $500, and then all of a sudden some shops will be charging $1,000, something crazy, or some will be charging $900, some will charge $1,200, crazier.
Well, it used to be that weird thing where they'd market it that and then put like sale. But the sale is actually the real price all the time. And without the internet, maybe you didn't know. Maybe that's the only shop you went to. So, I'm kind of fine with MAP. I think the other thing to point out that people don't think about is MAP is minimum advertised price. There's still nothing that says you can't sell it for whatever you want in your store. You just can't advertise it for less than.
I mean,
that.
as a guitar shop, as a manufacturer, it's all about you have to. There's a balance of profitability and competitive pricing.
Yes.
That lies there. We have to factor in everything from the lights, electricity,
Right.
staffing, floors, ceiling falling down, leaky roof, all that stuff goes into the actual guitar, the profit built in there,
Right.
if there's any, and sometimes there's not at the end of the day. So
It's true.
That's one. So let's move on to number 2 here. This is where it gets. This is one of the main ones. So number 2 is direct to consumer, again, DTC sales versus dealer networks. So the way it's always been a dealer network system.
Yeah.
Historically. And the DTC is a newer addition to this. And it's here right now. I guess everybody's like, well, it's here to stay. You can't change it. You could. Because this could go really poorly, or maybe it does need to stay. But let's look at it from the manufacturer's perspective again. The many manufacturers are really increasingly striving to explore and develop their DTC sales models through online stores. We're seeing this on third-party systems as well.
Right.
Now, this allows them to capture a higher profit point. Their margins are higher. They can bypass the dealers that way. It also risks alienating those same dealers that have traditionally driven their sales since the beginning of that's where their perspective comes in. So they have to balance that.
I mean, I kind of understand, especially the background you gave in the beginning. If you are sitting there with all this product and no one in your dealer network wants it, what do? Do you lay it out and run bulldozers over it? Because we've seen that, and no one, reacted favorably to that.
No, that's
so
not a good thing.
I kind of get the perspective here. You know what I mean? I get it. I get the point
No,
of view.
if they're left holding the bag, especially with orders that are canceled or something, I get it. There has to be a market for them to offload it. And before they would do it through sort of hidden third-party websites
Right.
I'd seen before, or different, they're doing a Reverb. They all have Reverb shops set up now too. It's tricky.
Which is wild, but
I know that's another problem.
Sort of.
And certified pre-owned things. Everybody's doing that too. It's sort of crazy. It's we're the new guitar dealers, but we also want the used market as well. It's a tricky thing, but I get it, because some of them are adapting, and they're trying to figure out not just that, but they're figuring out that, hey, we can't just make we're just going to design this guitar and make 1,000 of them and hope that the dealers buy them. They're not doing that in the same way. They're like, hey, some of the companies are actually listening.
Which is a great thing.
Hey,
right?
will you guys buy these before we build 1,000 of them? Will any of you buy
Do people
this?
want these? Is this a good thing? Does it matter?
Should we build a whole new factory for this one guitar that maybe no one else wants? No. But we really envision that this is the future of guitar, but maybe guitar players don't. That's the tricky part. Now, the dealer's perspective on this thing is that, dealers obviously feel threatened by direct to consumer. They're going after our customer. Especially our direct customers too. It's a tricky thing. It's a lot of shops are going to struggle to compete with convenience, and the ability of pricing and shipping options that manufacturers can offer direct.
Well, it's weird to be competing with the people who are making the thing that you are stuck. That's what you sell. We're not going to start building guitars to compete with them in the same way. You know what I mean? But I also think that from the dealer's perspective, there's a point where it was sort of, you felt like you had kind of made it. You were in this elite place if you could be a dealer for Fender. That meant something, right? Or Gibson, or all these companies, and the more it's direct, the more they're in every place. The more you go in a gas station and they happen to sell orange amps and D'Angelicos.
I've seen that. I'm like,
it kind of takes away from that sense of pride that you have as a dealer, and it takes away from the feeling that, hey, we're partners with these folks. They need us and we need them.
That's the whole idea of this Cold War thing. Is the partnership has almost become hostile, and I don't feel the hostility as much, because I still talk with them, the people at these companies, almost daily at some point. So there's a relationship there. But if I could see it, if I was a dealer that wasn't communicating with my friends that work there, it would feel very hostile.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Because it's hard to. Now here's what the dealer offers versus the manufacturer too. And Sean and I were talking about this earlier. Just the convenience, you got a new guitar, we're going to set it up for you. because most of these guitars we're getting from all the major manufacturers require extensive setups now, much more than usual. That's
which has changed. We've done. You can look at old videos where we say, "Man, we hardly ever have to touch X or Y or Z guitar," and that's changed. It's been different.
I know.
Sadly,
I call that the Chipotle effect.
Yeah.
But no, but like it is like, I mean, I saw Sean with like, multiple customers came in yesterday, and we were really busy just doing like back end shop stuff, like website and inventory build outs, and like people come in like, "Hey, can you fix my truss rod? Hey, I broke a string." And it's like Sean was like jumping up to
on
it, with a sore throat to boot, and then like, and then then we had a couple really great pieces come in from some of our top manufacturers. 100% of them did not work. It wasn't like there was something wrong with them. They did not work at all. Like one was a broken solder point with a wire inside the input, and it was just wired too tightly, and it took a hit in shipping probably, and it separated it.
That was it. Yep.
The other was the pickup selector was smashed in, and it was completely destroyed. And a very nice, expensive guitar, but that's something Sean fixed that too. That's something the shops can do that, and they can help you. Obviously,
which is a bummer if you order that guitar direct and you get it and you paid a ton of money, and I mean it's really a letdown when you open the case and whether it's visibly wrong or you plug it in and nothing.
Well, it makes no sense. Then it's got to go straight back to whoever you order it from,
and then
sometimes we have to do that even as a top dealer. It's months before we see that same guitar. Months. So we've had people get a guitar. Something's wrong with it, and we got to go back to service, something we can't fix. Like, the pickup's just not working. It's got to go back to service, and it's months sometimes. That's just part of the deal, because it's a backlog. So there's obviously pros and cons. Like the anonymity of the dealer network is great. You don't have to worry about, you don't have to talk to anybody, you don't have to interface if you're scared or nervous. We like to think of us as a friendly shop.
We're pretty friendly.
Most shops.
We're kind of happy.
I can be kind of mean sometimes.
Well, that's true.
There's that. That's where we shine, though.
Yeah.
Like we love what we do, and it's a fun thing. Let's move on here. Number 3, exclusive agreements and product availability. Ooh. These are two things that can come into play with, certain manufacturers offer certain lines and certain options within lines to dealers of certain tiers.
Yeah.
And we're in very high tiers in certain things, middle tiers in others.
And then
bottom tiers and other ones too.
The bottom of the barrel. No, yeah.
Here, so here's what we go. So the manufacturer's sort of side. So certain manufacturers offer exclusive agreements to certain dealers, giving them access to limited edition models or early releases. This can be a way of rewarding top tier dealers, and can also be a strategic move to control market presence. This makes sense. Like, you want to, as a manufacturer, I want to give the product, the guitar, the amp, to the dealer I know is going to sell it.
Right.
And who's going to market it the best.
Yes.
And who's going to actually spend time either with the YouTube content or spend time with properly writing up inventories, taking really nice photographs, which I'm really proud of our photographs as well. Check out our website. You haven't seen them there? That's a nice one. Little shameless plug. Exactly what I was thinking. But I get that. There's that. Now here's the dealer's perspective. Is the same idea. It's dealers not included in these exclusive agreements often feel that they can't catch up. They're left out of, they're disadvantaged and frustrated. It's hard. It's they're going to struggle with inventory shortages or lack of access to the popular models at the same time, leading to competitive disadvantage as well. The access to and this is another issue, the access to the product from the dealer side is so often like a product is released.
Yep.
The guitar is released, the marketing goes out, all of us put our orders in, we don't see the guitar for months and months after release is supposed to happen.
I mean, on this one, I don't mind there being sort of tiers, right? And I don't mind there being a reward for, hey, you do a really great job, so you maybe get these things first, or early access, or whatever. What I think is discouraging to dealers is when you do put in a lot of work and effort, and then a product gets announced, there's hype for it, you order it, and then by the time you get it, that hype is gone. maybe the big box stores have already sold a bazillion of them, so it's cooled down. Then you're stuck with this product.
And that does happen.
You know,
They'll
it does.
get offered to Sweetwater or Tolman's, a musician's friend first, then it comes to an indie chain, and then, hey, do you guys want the scraps? And so the dealers have to like, well, no, we just can't afford to take that.
And to me, that's different than saying like, okay, X shop, you know, you're not quite there yet, so you can't get master built custom shop, or you can't get private stock. Like, that's different, right? That's the tier thing, and that's what I'm sort of okay working your way to that and proving that you can sell those things and market those things.
Well, and that's smart as a deal. You don't want to take on some of these things unless you know, because, you know, let's say we had 50 custom shops with no channels to sell it.
Right.
Or 100 customers. It's a terrifying. You're sitting,
And I mean, I get from the manufacturer in that
right
scenario, you don't want to water down. You don't want to make this thing that's supposed to be awesome and sort of rare, mundane. I get that too.
No, what's tricky too is sometimes, like, let's say like a manufacturer can offer a special deal. Let's say we're a Sal with so much inventory that we can't get rid of it. And they're like, hey, we're going to let you guys, if you guys can dump that well below map,
right?
Whatever you want to do, and we'll give you some free stuff to give along with it. And then you just have to buy back in at this, and we'll give you a discount at this to sort of offer that, because we're not going to take that back because you bought it. It's now yours, I guess. That's tough, because then it creates a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
For then people are going to be like, hey, I'm going to wait for this glorious sale that happened over on this one website I saw here. Why is that happening there and nowhere else? It was because they may be overinvested.
Yeah.
In a certain like line, and now they have to dump it.
Right.
You know, I've seen,
it happens.
We see it happens. You see it with the majors. You see it with the indies. You see it with the major indies. It's part of the deal out there. So it's tricky. Number 4, marketing and brand representation. So from the manufacturer's perspective, this is pretty basic. They want to make sure that their pieces are marketed and shown on the website and in your store in the most glorified light possible.
Yes.
You know, they don't. It used to be like rules. I remember with like Gibson and Fender, they don't do this anymore. Like, you have to have this percentage of your showroom has to be my product.
Yeah.
And this percentage can be this. These, this type of guitar, if it's a Fender type, cannot be on the wall with this Fender guitar. That's not a thing anymore. That's sort of gone away.
I mean, that was a huge thing at Guitar Center for a while. And we talked about the planograms, how you set, and I had to like take pictures of stuff and send it in to the manufacturer. So they say, oh yeah, you've met our requirements, and now Ernie Ball's happy, or whoever, you know what I mean?
It is. Well, I mean, like all the manufacturers like want to have that, obviously, and we've had but each shop, has to modify it as it goes, and we'll get into why in a minute, because your locality and your customer base, if it's a local sale through. But I get it from the dealer's perspective 100% that they want, it's smart they want their product to just be displayed beautifully.
Of course.
Perfectly.
And that, of course.
And because even if it's not, it's beyond just a sell through, they want it to like inspire.
Yeah.
And like to look right in its setting where it's going to be. And that's why, again, like I take pride in our website as far as our photographs and our write-ups and what we do in our demos. We want all these to live longer than just the guitar to its final destination.
Right.
I think it's important that I remember when I bought my first master build from Wildwood Guitars, like they sent me all the pictures they took even, so I had it on file. I had the YouTube video of this guy demoing it. It wasn't Greg Koch. It was another dude that I was so bummed out.
I'm sure he was fine.
He was great. But
he's not Greg Koch.
I might send it back to, I'll be like, hey, listen, guys at Wildwood, can you take my guitar?
All I want is
have Greg demo my I want him to do Zowie, Dapabowie, the whole, I don't want him to even playing it. I just want him talking over it. I might just green screen it. Sorry.
You can do it.
So the dealer's perspective, dealers obviously want the freedom to market things how they want to.
Right.
Because let's face it, everybody that's in the guitar business is sort of a rogue and an independent spirited person anyway. Like all the guys in the independent retail shops, that's not in the corporate universe. It's like, none of us want real jobs.
None of us want real jobs. And I think we've hit this. It used to be, right, you'd go into a guitar shop. I can remember when I was first starting to play, and you'd have the dudes in the certain shirt and khaki pants, and it was a very like sort of mono. It was just a certain experience when you went to a guitar shop. You expected to look a certain way, and now we've had all these cool independents sort of rise up, and they have their own personality, their own vibe. whether it's CME or us or Thunder Road or wherever, right? So, you just want to be able to do, because it comes across as disingenuous and fake if you have to fit into this weird marketing plan that's not your vibe.
It's almost like the planogram of the staff.
Yeah,
it can be like a disturbing
and that,
thing.
I don't think people enjoy that
But
anymore.
still a shout out to one of my favorite guys that I love, Don Rodriguez of Taylor
Don's
Guitars.
awesome.
He was at GC for 30 years, and now he's been a Taylor rep for years. And he comes in, he's got words of wisdom, these little pearls that he brings in, his chops, and I always love seeing him because I always learn something new. And he was in a shreddingly awesome metal band back in the day too.
Yes,
which is shockingly good, because you meet him like, this guy doesn't seem like he was in a metal band.
But
holy crap! And he was pulling ladies. But anyway,
straight up hair metal.
Hair metal, yes, amazing metal, the fun metal. But no, but
spandex and hairspray everywhere.
But it is yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying. I mean, there's stuff to learn from that as well. But yeah.
No, but he's the best of the old school stuff. But he keeps modernizing, which I love. And he's not the youngest rep that we work with. But he's got something.
Well,
special.
I mean, and that is an example, and maybe it's too idealistic, but instead of a Cold War, it'd be nice to see sometimes sort of like joining hands, dealers and manufacturers, and saying, okay, we're going to do this together.
And then when you feel when I connect with those people, you don't feel it anymore.
Right.
You feel it when you get the corporate letters and the dictates, and then you get, we get lots. We talk to every other shop out there almost. We talk to tons of shops, because I love everybody in this business. It's such a fun business. I love all the people that buy the guitars. I like the people that sell the guitars. I love the people that make the guitars. But we hear lots of people are really upset and frustrated right now. From both sides, and that's why we're doing this. I see it from the manufacturer's side. We don't want to, and I can see all of us doing it as independent and big box retailers pushing them to where they feel like they're in a corner, and we don't want that. We want to try to figure out a way everybody can. It doesn't have to all be DTC.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that existing, but it's tricky when it exists in the way that hey, we're going to release these, Gibson in particular with some of those amazing releases they have, but they don't allow their dealer network to have any bit of it.
Right.
Which is a strange. I get it if you're
a strange thing.
I get it if you're flying out the garage, but sort of.
Well, that's this. Yeah. They want to really tailor and control that experience. So you understand it on that hand, but it is hard to say, hey, we're going to make all this money on these really high-end things, and we're not letting any of our dealers who helped build our reputation.
And who've stuck with them through the thin years and the thick years.
Right.
It wasn't always thick, and that's the problem. Is sometimes you'll get a board of or a leadership team that's only lived through the ups.
Yeah.
And they haven't lived through the downs, and then they're freaking out during the downs a bit.
And I don't know how you do a thing where you fly everybody out to Nashville and have that experience and involve your dealers. That would take a lot of figuring out, I guess. But
we're going to get there. I think we keep talking. I think this is a good template.
Yeah.
I think it's an open dialogue. It's I know a lot of my friends out there will watch this that either work at shops, own shops, run shops. A lot of my friends that work at manufacturers, run manufacturers. Well, we're not mad at anybody. We're just trying to figure out we're navigating this as well.
Right.
Okay, number 5. This is the key one too, and it's kind of a fun one. Technology, innovation, and adaptation.
Yep.
So again, this is where we're at now. We're not at just old-fashioned. You go to mom and pop's guitar store and that's it. There's a whole thing called the internet that we work in. So
Craziness, I know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
This side note, sorry, I haven't gotten distracted this whole video, but I downloaded on my Xbox Doom 1 and 2 for my kids to play the other day, and they love it. 1993 and 94. Can't go up or down. It's just sides shooting
golden years,
demons from hell. It's just fun. I was explaining, we used to have to play this with landlines. We'd get all our computers hooked together, and we'd sit there down hallways and have 10 guys playing. Always guys. Anyway, technological innovation and adaptation. The manufacturer's perspective. They're always, so there's 2 things. It's obviously website-driven things, and then also innovative products. So they're continually innovating for new models, technologies that offer within their models, and to stay competitive, they want dealers to adapt quickly, to adopt all these new pieces that they're going to bring out, and also be able to showcase this with a proper website.
Right.
So yes, I agree 100%. Every shop should have a proper website now, even if it's just a banner.
Man, it would be really hard. I don't know how you do it without that at this point, unless you were in just such a big metro area that you just constant foot traffic.
You could do that if,
I guess. I mean, maybe.
But as I look at that, even if it's not even showing your inventory that you have on, just to be like a phone number and a location, just like even something like that. Hey, here we are.
It's still tricky, just because Amazon exists. People are just so conditioned. I want to look online. I want to see it. I want to click and have it show up in my house.
I still try to fight the demon of Amazon, but it gets me every once in a while.
But it exists, it just does. So I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
Well, and it's called MPIs, like new product introductions. Like that's a big thing for a lot of the manufacturers. It's a huge thing, and it's fun too. And I gotta say, like it's the lifeblood of like what gets me excited too.
Right.
Like when there's a new thing that's really cool. The problem is there can't be a new thing every other day.
What?
It's
what, Pastor? What do you mean?
No, it's
of course there can, and you need them all.
And
every one of them.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I am the biggest Stratocaster fan in the world, but it's like I still just like I miss the days of just like, oh, there's the standard.
Here's the Strat.
And there's the standard. There's so many Strats now. We have to do homework to stay on top of it, which is fine. Like it's fun, but I get they got to do that because that's a big part of people's buying habits too. Like people want to get the newest thing. I want to get when you're car shopping, you're usually not looking for the oldest.
It gets people excited, unless you're me, because you're like, oh, I want the old thing with no computers. But whatever.
No, I get it. It's well, and then here's from the, and I get it. Like that, a lot of that makes sense from the dealer's perspective because that's
Sure.
bottom line, obviously, for the new NPIs. Got to have updated websites and photographs and just a way to find your shop as a brick and mortar from their perspective as well. Mm-hmm. And then, but let's go from the dealer's perspective. A lot of dealers are going to find it really hard to keep up with not the technology part of it, but just the demands of the new product and the new pieces coming out. It's especially when you can't sell the old ones.
I was going to say, if you've got walls and maybe back rooms full of the old product, and then there's this huge push for the new product, that's hard.
Well, and we've been sitting on this for a bit now because I've been ingesting information. Derek's been working on this, and we get again like calls from so many other shops and so many. We talk to our manufacturers all the time. It's like, hey man, they all want to push like you gotta get this new stuff because the reason you're not selling the new stuff is because you didn't take the new stuff, and you gotta get that because the old stuff is just we don't even have that thing anymore. It's gotta go. It's like, well, we couldn't sell the old stuff even at sales. Like we just gotta sell it, and I feel like sometimes the manufacturer forgets that. Even if you offered it, I mean, all these sales that have been happening, we lose money on them.
Oh yeah.
Every time we sell a guitar, like
those things don't just poof and go away from us. And I think sometimes it's easy as the manufacturer. Well, we moved it; it's out of our warehouse, but it still exists for us.
It's on a hook or it's in our storage rooms as well.
That's right.
And like we had a whole room of storage. We were just like, I remember during like, the pandemic times when we got like pallets of Squires at once, and like PRS-SEs like all hit at the same time. It's like whoa. And like, but they've all sort of slowly gone. But some of those SKUs have been discontinued. Yeah. And then the manager's like, well, you gotta get the new stuff too. It's like, we do want to get the new stuff. And this is the same conversation I hear from every other shop too. Yeah. They're like, we want to get, but we can't sell the old stuff.
Right.
Because sometimes the old stuff wasn't that good.
But sometimes it wasn't, or sometimes it was. It's hard to predict, right? Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't, but.
Sometimes stuff just doesn't sell.
And there's times to dump it, right? Like I get that. To just try to make your money back and put it into something different, but it's not that simple.
You're going to lose money.
You're going to lose money.
You can reinvest it in something hopefully new that you can sell within a certain time frame. So it's hard, like because we're always analyzing market trends, and trying to do that. And we've got our fingers on the pulse pretty good, because we have a lot of friends out there, not just shops and manufacturers, but all of the players we talk to all the time. Some of my best friends I've met through this silly thing, and we talk about guitars, and they're like, "Oh my God, do you see that this is going on sale now?" I'm like, "I did. We got the email about it yesterday from the manufacturer." Or just it's just part of the deal. Okay, let's get into number 6 here. Online versus brick and mortar. Ooh. So this is obviously another. Is there a place for brick and mortar in the future?
Absolutely not.
Do manufacturers even see that?
Right.
I mean, like maybe not. Are they sort of viewing like, hey, we need to like, this is like, they got us where we are now, and now it's a new world, it's a new universe, and we got to eventually steer that to where that's going away slowly and where our market share goes up in our DTC.
I mean, it's funny, right? Because there's a generation of players who I still are like, no, I would never buy something sight unseen online. But I do think that's dying out. I think more and more people are sort of embracing. Like I said, Amazon exists. So
Yes. I don't need to touch and feel my toilet paper.
right.
I just want it.
And we don't want guitars to be like toilet paper, but
That's what Amazon has done.
there's also this push that everything is, or at least the thing they want to maybe project is that everything is crazy consistent, everything's perfect, it's always good, so you can do that.
I know. I like to think, I'm going to go from the manufacturer's perspective right here. I like to think their ethos still remains the same. I'm going to go back to old Leo Fender and talk to all the guys I've met at Fender. This is my gut. I could be completely wrong. It's come out like next week's like, oh, but I think they still fervently believe in brick and mortar. I think that's the soul of Leo Fender too. I know he's been gone for a long time, and I think the people there still do.
Okay.
I think they're savvy and they know they're trying to sell online, but I think they believe in that. But they're also, here's the flip side. They also believe in the data of capturing your information.
Right.
So this is because information is key. Like just how Facebook works. Facebook doesn't care that you want to see pictures of your high school girlfriend or whatever. They want your information. They're going to direct sell it somewhere else. All these corporations want that too, so they can help direct market you.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's what they're doing right now, and that sort of they see that as. I don't necessarily agree with that part as much. Like the geo-targeting is a bit insane.
But yeah, it is.
Like if you go into Guitar Center, you will get an email from a guitar manufacturer,
Like
10%
immediately.
off immediately. If you have that app on your phone and you sign up their newsletter,
Right.
they've got you. And that's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel on that? A little. Ask, do I?
I don't love that, and I'm sure that there is an argument to be made that data is helping them to bring you the thing, the best thing that you want, so they know better than you do what you want. The downside is I almost think there's parallels to sort of the music industry, and you hear people say all the time what it used to be. I saw an Oasis interview the other day where they're like, it used to be people didn't know they wanted Jimi Hendrix, but by God, they got him, and then it was amazing, right? But that wouldn't happen today necessarily because there's all this data where, no, people want this, they want this 3-minute song about, whatever it's about.
It is. We're in a strange time, but we're in the time, and I appreciate the manufacturers. All of them have to work at this and figure it out.
Me too.
It's like, I get it. It's business.
Get it.
They're trying to figure it out. Now let's go from the dealer's perspective a bit on so a lot of brick and mortar stores, and particularly those that they haven't entered the online world, they're struggling.
Yep.
It's suffering. Some of them are strong enough and old enough they don't really care.
Yeah.
And they will phase out as they go forward, but they're having a tough time competing with other, shops and manufacturers that might have a lower overhead.
Yes.
Because let's say you're a direct only, like a retail, no brick and mortar, but you are an independent, but you're online only.
That's it.
You have no overhead in the same way as a physical shop does.
Right.
You have a storeroom to maybe service this or to keep the pieces, but other than that,
That's it.
you're pretty much free. They might feel some pressure from some of the manufacturers to maintain a level that they're just not comfortable with in this modern age. And
I think,
and that's tricky.
and you tell me, but this is how I sort of view us, and maybe you think about it differently. I think about so what is he gonna say? This isn't on the paper. This isn't bullet points. I feel like our online stuff does well because we don't see it as brick and mortar sales and online. We try to make the online an extension of our brick and mortar shop.
Yes.
We've made our shop, and you've made the shop where it is a great experience when you come in, and it's cool and it's got a great vibe and it's pretty, So we try to carry that over so that when you buy online, you feel like you experience coming to casino.
Well, that's when during the plague, we were just having fun. We were throwing guitars off the roof, just and putting it on YouTube and having a good time, and just this is in cases to see if the cases would explode. Hitting kids with trucks and stuff in cases
It was
to
fun.
see if the kids would explode.
Kids,
They didn't.
kids in cases.
They were my kids. They're fine. But we did that as an outreach, just people. We're all going stir crazy. You're going stir crazy. Like you want to go into the guitar store is fun and relaxing and relief, and we wanted to give that back in any way possible. And we made it our sort of mission to not really try to sell things.
Right.
It was you're like
dumb. I know. You're like, oh, no wonder they
no,
we don't
really,
have more subscribers. No,
we didn't want to sell. We didn't want to sell. We just want to talk about stuff we're doing. Kind of we're talking now for like a countless amount of time, but it's the joy of it.
Yeah.
And that's but I get it from the manufacturer side. Like it's hard for them to. They don't want to see a shop that's not entering the online spectrum right now. You kind of have to be now.
Well, it shrinks that shop's ability, like what they could potentially sell, right? So like you kind of sort of hobbling yourself if you're only doing that in a weird way.
And that's why I sort of view like what you just said. Like I view our relationship with the manufacturers. I like to always view it as a partnership. It hasn't felt that way sometimes recently. It does feel like it's a little bit of sparring, and we're trying to figure out who's on top of this wrestling match sometimes and how we can do it. But it's fun when you're working together.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's a team. Like when we go out to these manufacturers and we sit with them and we get to design things, we get to like think about, then you realize, oh, we're all guitar players. Yes.
That is true. When reps come by, or people from that it always sort of comes down to that dude sitting around talking about gear, what we like, what we don't like. Check out my guitar. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many times reps have showed me pictures of their guitars. It's not even necessarily the company that they're.
Our rep Chris from Martin, like I love the fact. I hope he's still in it, but in a Who tribute band with a stack of high watts, not like the little wussy ones.
No, like legit ones.
Like blow your face off, hair off your back, high watts, and like and he's cool, and he's not 30 years old. He's been around for a little bit longer than that, and he's crushing it. He knows. That's the thing about the reps, like the ones that have been in the game long enough, like know the push and pull and how do you do it, and they understand it's like they're not trying to shove a product like this is the planogram, this is the sales force, this is how we're going to do it. It's like, let me help your shop do better.
Yeah.
And like not by just getting more orders.
Right.
It's like that's what's neat. It's like
they know that you need to move the orders, and that translates into.
And if you're not
orders.
moving them, let's just slow it up for a bit.
Right.
Like it's like it doesn't look good to their bosses either, but that's just they want to have a healthy fruit on the vine.
Yeah.
Instead of something that's just struggling and doesn't want to take your phone calls. And like just won't sometimes. That's just how it is. Okay, number 7. We're moving on.
Let's do it.
Customer relationship management. So customer relationship management. I can't speak. Customer relationship management. Okay, so manufacturer's perspective. Manufacturers are very focused on building direct relationships with, again, the industry word, end users and the customers through online communities, social media, direct sales. This allows them, again, to gather customer data and hopefully foster more direct brand loyalty.
Which makes total sense. I see why they would want to do that. And I don't mind, you know what I mean? Like I sort of want there to be that, right? I want there to be a community around like Fender Online. And I think that's where the artists come in as well, right? Like that's where it makes sense for,
I feel like that's where Fender Play was really neat during
a fantastic job.
The Plague again. They did a great job of creating a community and like giving away for free, even though we bought so many of those cards during that thing that we're just going to give away for free. So if you need free Fender Play, just come to the shop. I'll hook you up. I got so much of it.
Handfuls. Take handfuls.
Literally, I'll give you like a year's worth for free. Yeah. I got you, man. You got to come and see me physically. It's no, but I appreciate when they do that. It's tricky though. Because so here's the other thing. They're also asking for you to register your guitars. And so from the dealer's perspective, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like I used to think, oh, that's neat. Register it so it's all warranted. Now it's just data harvesting.
Right.
So they can direct market you as their customer, even though you are not their customer.
Which can feel like if you're the dealer that you're being cut out of the equation.
Well, that's exactly what's happening. Because we know it's happened. And I don't want to spill too many beans there, but like, I have had customers come to us. I'll spill them all. It doesn't matter. This is not that bad. But customers come like, listen, like we're getting direct phone calls from these manufacturers you work with. Like they have and we get direct emails that are very personal. They're trying to build that sort of Sweetwater thing within their enterprises. And I look at that as a bit disingenuous.
Yeah.
Like if we're partners, we're partners. But if you're directly going for my customer that just bought a guitar from my shop.
Yeah.
And like, let's say I'm in Florida and it's my Florida customer and my guy, I'm in Florida and he bought it from Tennessee.
Whatever.
I'm in the SEC right now. Sorry. Got to get geared up for the fall.
It is coming.
It's coming.
Football's starting.
But that's the customer that they've developed, and then now you're trying to harvest that.
Right.
From it's like, well, we made the guitar. It's like, yeah, but they might have come into that shop wanting to buy a Martin, and you sold them a Taylor, through like direct comparisons and like spending a good hour, 2, 3. There's a lot of time there.
That's a tricky thing for sure. Plus, those communities definitely, maybe pigeonhole is the right word, into how you market it, how they think about things, which goes back to our earlier thing. Like sometimes we want to control that for our market because we know what works where we are. But
it does. It's I think it kind of sums up that sort of section. That's pretty self-explanatory.
I think so.
Like now, number 8's a little different. Supply chain and distribution issues. So this was
the exciting stuff.
Well, no, but it's really important.
It is.
This sort of affects like when the guitar or the amplifier gets to your room.
Yeah.
And you might have seen it. Anyway, let me start. So, manufacturers. They face challenges in so many ways, more than we can even understand in their supply chains, especially in terms of global, disruption, i.e. the Great Plague of 2020. They have to prioritize certain regions and on certain levels of shops as far as strategic importance. And that's how they sort of look at this. They want to get the product to the seller that can sell it the fastest so they can get another order from that seller.
Yeah.
So, and I get that. It makes common sense, right?
Well, if you get a limited amount, you're not going to ship it to some place that never sells that thing, right? Like you want to, and in that way, it is sort of merit based, and I'm fine with that.
It's just common sense based. Now when dealers struggle when they face delays or shortages in their products as well, so they're missing sales. So that's a problem. They rely on a steady supply and to keep their sales through and the customer satisfaction. Now the problem lies when, again, we mentioned this sort of before, when a product is released and due to supply chain issues, it cannot be delivered for well beyond the extended period.
Especially if you see it's going to a Sweetwater or a Guitar Center, because and the tricky thing, right? Not only you miss the sales,
or direct.
The really tricky thing is when you have a product like that sold, your customer's been waiting on it, and then they see online, oh, it's available at this place, so why don't you have it? There's no good answer from us.
I've talked to multiple shops. So we're in a we deal.
Right.
We get to deal in a lot of cork sniffing stuff, which is wonderful. I get to play great guitars every day. It's fantastic. I pat my lucky back every day. But a lot of shops will reach out. I'm like, hey, we got this guitar we're trying to get from major manufacturer X. We can't get it, but I go on their website and it's available from right there immediately. And I'm trying to get it ported off of that. And we'll call your rep, and your rep can hopefully help. And sometimes the rep can, sometimes the rep can't.
Sometimes not.
It's just that's a problem for that. That's where the partnership feels misaligned.
Yes.
And that's where the whole DTC thing is problematic. I get DTC in a strange way with the Gibson Garage, more so because it's a physical brick and mortar place.
Sure.
And they can offer. They've curated how they want you to experience that, and it's a cool experience.
It's super fun. I love to go hang out there. I really.
We've had customers go there and have great times. We've had customers go there and have bad times too.
Less than good times, but
we've probably had customers come here and have a bad time too. And it's just because you might have caught one of us on a really bad day. Maybe I just got back from trying to fix a flat tire, which I'm objectively horrible at. And I'm just in a bad mood, or my kids all have mono, and I haven't slept in 3 weeks. Or my wife went to a Bush concert and maybe had a little bit too much fun, and I can't wait to see her at her meetings later. Things like that. And then that brings me joy. But no, so that's the issues with supply chain. And the worldwide issues of that, it's tough because I know this has happened a lot too with some major shops. Let's say a major product release happens, and it's a huge announcement, pre-sold 20 of them, order 20 from manufacturer. Product's supposed to be delivered in June. Product doesn't get delivered until June of next year. Yeah. And so all these orders and deposits have to be canceled and refunded. No one's happy. So it's just
not so good.
That happens, and so it really affects the bottom line of these smaller shops.
It does.
And if you have refunding deposits is a kneecapper.
Man, that's
Like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas, you know, it's not a good feeling.
and depending on the size of the shop, right, and how many of those you sold, it could be really devastating.
Because you know, when a shop has done that too, it's like, yeah, it's devastating. Like they have already reinvested that capital into other.
It's not like you sit on it, right? You're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, now we can pay the light bills.
Counting my money.
Yeah. So
Let's jump. I think we're at number 9.
number 9, we're
Holy
almost
cow.
there.
We're getting there.
The end is near.
Brand loyalty and diverse offerings. This one's kind of fun.
Tricky.
So, manufacturer perspective. Here we go. Manufacturers want dealers to be loyal to the brand, obviously, by often encouraging them to focus on, you know, us, on the shops, on selling their stuff over competitors. That's obvious. This loyalty can be rewarded with better margins,
Yep.
incentives, or exclusive pieces to have as well. It's this has changed a bit, but we've seen this across the board. What we mentioned before, I've seen it in some overseas channels too, where MAP doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, so like when you get to the UK and Europe, it's a different thing, but the manufacturers still have to help you balance that.
Yeah.
Like when like a shop might have to dump a ton of inventory and then give free stuff away with it, and then that still filters in, like it's not a closed world anymore, so everyone in this market sees that. It's like, why can't I have that? You know, right now, it's like, well, it's because they may be overinvested in it.
Because you can't.
That's why you can't have nice things anymore.
It's like I say to my children, because I said so. Because I said so. Yeah.
No, it's a tricky, like, I mean, I get, like, obviously they want you to sell, you know, if you're Fender, you want the shop to sell more Fenders than Gibsons. If you're Gibson, you want to sell more Gibsons than Fenders. And if you're PRS, you want to nibble away at that market share too, and maybe become the number 1 and not be the number 3 in that shop, and like sneak in there and attack them, which happens at some great independent shops that really focus. Well, it will be, because, you know, it's like, it goes like, you know, Fender, Gibson, and PRS as far as in like a pecking order, and then, but then it's reversed.
Right.
Or maybe Gibson's not in there at all.
Right.
Because Gibson had notoriously, historically been a burden to bear for a lot of shops. Now, let's get the dealer's often perspective. They, you know, us can offer like a diverse range. We want to carry a diverse range of everything as much as we can to offer to our customers, but also to, it's like stock market, to protect ourselves.
Right.
You know,
because if you put all of the eggs in one basket, and then that basket
it's a basket of sour,
poorly, it dry rots, then bam, you're
got a stinky egg in our pants right here.
But I mean, you know, we're still fairly focused, right? And we
are, because we're idiots.
You know, because we're idiots. But some of that is that we do have a lot of brand loyalty, and it's you know, we're just dumb enough to like go hard in the things that we actually.
But what you said, we do have. That's true. When he said we're dumb enough, we have dumb brand loyalty, because I love certain guitar brands, and it doesn't mean I always love the decisions they make. I don't always love the corporate leadership's decisions at all. And like, they know that, and we have conversations about it, and they're super okay to listen to it, and then they just ignore me, and then, you know, they ignore all.
But you know,
but I get it.
We still love them, right?
Because it's fun to play.
Because we love the guitar. Because that's, you know, at the end of the day, it's not about a corporate structure or anything. It's about, do you love that guitar when you pick it up, right?
No, if you've stuck around to this point in this video, this is not a video for, like, you know, this is a deep sort of dive, and it's a lot of thought, a lot of heart. You've been thinking about it for, you know, I'd like to almost say years.
Yeah,
it's something we think about quite a bit, but like really just, you know, Derek had the impetus of like, let's get this one done.
Because we have these conversations all the time in the morning. Usually we're supposed to be talking about other things. They kind of go into these things, but
no, but we're hoping like through, like, you know, everyone like talking about it, it becomes something like, oh, this is what they're thinking. It's not like, it's not this. We're not there yet. It's like, it could become that. It could be a hot war, but I think we're still in the Cold War phase, and it could be friendly, because eventually, I kind of want to date that secret agent that's at Russia. You know, you know, it's like, you know,
that's it. Video's sunk. It was so good until right then.
That's, you know, I think you're the enemy. Like, oh, she's so pretty. Like, you know, like I'm thinking of Jennifer Lawrence in one of those like movies where she had to be like a hitman.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. I tried to watch another one that was just terrible. And I got like with 10 minutes in.
Or that was that show, The Americans, or whatever. Or like.
I hear that is a great show.
I haven't watched it.
I just don't have time to commit to like 10 seasons of anything.
Because it's a bazillion episodes.
Okay, let's finish this up. Number 10, global versus local market dynamics. So oftentimes manufacturers are thinking in ways that we can't even comprehend. We are a small town, simple Southern folk, based in Southern Pines, North Carolina. We're not in Las Vegas if you think we are. A lot of people do because it's called Casino Guitars.
Weird.
It's right.
I guess that makes sense why
Right?
people would think that.
But it's in an old casino, so there's some of that to it, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
But so manufacturers have to think on a global scale. They have to think of strategies that exist well beyond what might align with a local marketplace. You know, they may push dealers to adopt sort of global marketing campaigns and pricing strategies that don't align with the locality as well. It's strange, and sometimes manufacturers, like we've got sort of alluded to it, like they will jump into a product launch that they think is going to service a certain region, but it might fail entirely, and they've invested millions in like new factory, retooling. Everything these manufacturers make, they have to make. That sounds stupid, but I don't mean in a dumb way. It's like if they want to make a tool to make a piece of your guitar, they have to make that tool.
If it doesn't exist, if it's a
everything,
new
it's
thing,
weird.
Right? Or if it's a new bridge design, right? Like no one's making it, so they got to set up machines for that. They got to retool. They got to do all this stuff.
Like side point at Fender, like that was one of my favorite things is seeing the machine shop.
Yeah.
Of like, here's where we make the stuff to make the stuff to make the stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Like the little cast things to stamp out bridges. You know, that's what I think about. Yeah, exactly. It's cool.
I thought that was really cool. That was something.
It is pretty cool.
I mean, dealers' perspectives, like, you know, the dealers are definitely much more attuned to their local marketplace and their local customers. And when I say local, I don't just mean in their region. I mean in their local internet reach now.
Yes.
You know, it's like, and ours is fortunately worldwide. I mean, we had some things just arrive in China today.
Yes.
And in Australia.
Yeah.
Last week. And in, you know, New Zealand last week as well. And like things go all over the world, and it's awesome.
It's very cool.
The one guy who just received something was asking if you take the bag out of the back of it, and I was like, that's the reverb tank. Don't take that out. Don't take that out.
Leave that in there. It's important.
It's awesome. Yeah. I really enjoyed talking with him, though. I think it's a...
I mean, I can see in this one how dealers could be maybe short-sighted and how the manufacturers could maybe be a little too far-sighted. And a good example that comes to mind is when we talk about the companies wanting to become like lifestyle brands. And we're like, no, just make guitars.
Well, that was like Gibson before the fall of 2015. They were going hard.
You know, they're thinking ahead, hey, we have to grow. We have to keep figuring out a way to get bigger. You know, and I'm sure that is a different burden than what we think about. Like, hey, we just want to sell guitars to people that they actually want. So yeah, I mean, I see how there could be a rub between the two.
It's tricky, and like I think we're coming to the end. Like, and that's the fun part is like we've gone over all these things. You know, like we just did global versus local dynamics, brand loyalty versus diverse offerings, supply chain and distribution issues, customer relation management, online versus brick and mortar. We got technology, innovation and adaptation, marketing, brand representation, exclusive agreements and product availability, direct to customer and direct dealer networks, and control over pricing and sales.
Yeah.
We talked about all that. But so much more of it comes down to, like, you know, what you were sort of alluding to just at the end, like what is the profit scaling of what, you know, what does the manufacturer need to get to not have to, and this is where I'll side with them a bit, to not have to fire people.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to lay off people. And I respect when they're making decisions to kind of not have to clear, you know, the people that actually build these guitars.
Right.
Now, I do think there's points where, like, I don't think you need huge corporate bonuses sometimes. If there ain't a profit of a certain level, I feel like you should be capped out, you know, and like, you know, I'm not saying like I don't believe you should be making a lot more as the CEO. You should be, but like there's
within reason.
Maybe I don't know. It's like yeah. I mean, yeah, but there's so much room here.
Yeah. And
like we have so many things. Like I think we just went through it all as an exercise. But like I see so much from the dealer's perspective better by just talking about it. I see from the manufacturer's perspective so much better now, just like from talking about it too.
Sure.
You know, and sort of analyzing and thinking about it and like how they're trying to view their world strategy and their global, you know, market share versus, you know, we're such a small piece of the pie, but there's a lot of us. And then you get to the behemoths of Sweetwater and Thoman and Musician's Friend and Guitar Center, real behemoths, like they have to figure out where they fit in this market as well. The dance is not set. it's not set to like collapse into like a full-on war. And that would be, what would be a war? That would be when there are no more retail shops.
Right.
And then it's all direct to customer. And
the shops are scraping to like buy up used stuff.
And
to
shops
sell,
just maybe cease to exist in the same way.
Maybe so.
Because like at this point, like when I have new shops ask me like, hey, we want to open a new shop, we want to carry X, Y, and Z brands, I would be like, I'd love to help you in any way I can. Y, Z, I said, but don't carry Y and Z. Maybe carry X. Just because like right now it's such a precarious place for some of them that I don't know if it would make sense, because they don't know their footing either. Like we think of these corporations as like they have the answers, they know where they're going. Like they're trying just to figure it out too.
Right.
This is a new thing.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a scary market for them. I think through just like communication with. I just want to make sure the manufacturers and the dealers are all still talking, as friends. That's because I hear a lot of sort of like animosity out there, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's like they're not trying to get you, but then let's get to the real end of this. How does this affect the guitar player and the purchaser, aka you, and then us as buyers too? Because I still buy at shops. I think we have to have the dealer network and the manufacturers still working in symbiosis.
Yes.
I think if you lose the manufacturers, the only person that loses out is the customer. I mean, if we lose the dealer, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. If we lose the dealer, if we lose the manufacturer, the guitars are gone entirely. But it's it's beyond just the fact of having a place to go into. It's beyond the fact of having a place to get your place repaired or try out stuff. It's also having an honest voice, hopefully, that will tell you, like, hey, like you don't need this new piece. Your guitar that you have is as good or better. You can wear that. And we do that daily.
Because we're idiots.
Because we are stupid. No, but also a place there is and then even on the online spectrum of it, there's that honesty that can exist and breathe. That's become really refreshing, and I think it's gonna. I'm still hopeful. I think we're gonna all figure it out. Like manufacturers are figuring it out. We're figuring it out as we go. Yeah. And it's gonna get there to where it's like it's all swimming together in the same way, because it's almost there. But there's this. It could go either way though. That makes it exciting.
A few tweaks maybe need to be made, but it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, a few tweaks from us.
Sure.
A few tweaks from the people making these things and bringing joy to all the world. Like that's where we're at right now.
That's right.
I think we're close. I would love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, and any of your comments below. And if you're ever in the area too, stop by. That's the brick and mortar aspect of this thing. And if you're ever not in the area, you want to send us a note. Send us a note. Say howdy. We appreciate that as well. And give us a call.
That's right.
That's all. Thanks for joining us. Click like, subscribe.
Hit the bell.
Peace be with you guys.
See you next time.